All right. Our viewers, thanks for joining in from wherever you are watching us from. This is the other perspective, and of course, I'm tentatively sitting in for the moderator Abel. When he comes, I will hand over the boots to the big man. Let me welcome you, but also encourage that wherever you're watching us from, if it's on YouTube, would you please press that, smash that subscription button so that we can have as many likes as possible, but you like it, but also subscribe if you can, because it is that subscription that will make us continue serving you like we are doing. And of course, this week on the perspectives, we are going to interrogate the very interesting subject of the rationality of the citizen behavior in political processes. This is quite an interesting subject, and of course, I will be one of the panelists, and of course, with me is Mr. Eddie Kayinda. Eddie Kayinda, welcome to the show. Eddie Kayinda is an economist.
Thank you, Henry.
He's also grounded. He's a voter, and he's grounded on matters of the thinking and rationalization of voters, and therefore what he is going to bring on board is none other than the true perspective of the voter. Of course, now that Abel has joined, Abel, welcome. We knew that you were experiencing technical hitches. We have not blamed this on you, we have blamed it on the technology. And therefore, I had already introduced the subject of discussion for today. So, and I had also introduced myself as a panelist. My name is Henry Muguzi, and also Mr. Eddie Kayinda. So pick it up from there and introduce the rest of the panelists and take it away. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Henry. Technology is always a problem in most of the African countries, so Uganda is not exclusive of the countries where technology is always affecting us. Today, as Henry has already introduced, today we are going to be discussing about the rationality of citizens' behavior in political processes. And we are, as Henry has already told you, we have four persons who are going to give us their insights on how citizens' behavior in political processes can either inform how governance is moving in the right way or not. So we shall be joined by Gerald Coraneza, who is a youth in political spaces activist. So he's going to share with us from the youth perspective what he thinks how citizens should be behaving in terms of participating in a rational manner in the political processes in Africa and also Uganda in context. And then we shall also have Elizabeth Karunji, who is an activist in women and democracy. So you do know that one of the provisions under the national objective and national directive principles of state policy in Uganda points out that the state shall be based on democratic principles, which empowers and encourages the active participation of citizens at all levels in their own governance. So as a country, we have laws that do allow citizens to actively participate in most of the governance processes, from the village level up to national level. But there have always been issues concerning the effective participation of these people. How rational are their behaviors in terms of participating in the governance arena of helping the country move forward and develop in a manner that is inclusive in nature and have all citizens on board and have their voices heard so that they can be able to inform decisions. So we are going to base our discussion on some of those aspects. And I will want to start with Henry. We know Uganda has a variety of citizens, and most people even nowadays ask themselves whether we really have patriotic citizens or people who are just occupying the country and are not patriotic in nature. They don't care how the governance is done, so their behavior towards the political decisions made is not all that good. So I would want you to help us and help the audience understand which kind of citizens do we in a country like Uganda? What's your understanding of citizens, first of all, as an expert in the area of the electoral democracy?
Yeah, thank you very much, Abel. Of course, I already alluded to the fact that this is a very interesting subject to discuss at this point in time, and it could not have been more timely. The Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, I think Article 1, puts it clearly that all power belongs to the people. But that power is exercised through regular free and fair elections, where people shall elect representatives, and then those representatives shall then use that power to manage the affairs of the state. It therefore means that political processes such as elections are very important, because it's at this time that you get to delegate your power as a citizen to the voters. The question is, do the voters know that actually they have this power? Do the citizens of Uganda actually know that it is they that ordinarily and by default possess this power, and they only delegate it to the leaders? Or do they understand it otherwise? So these are some of the questions to ponder now. When you look at the manner in which they behave during electoral processes, you question the rationality, because our voters are a group of people who perceive of election campaigns as a window of opportunity to extract as much as they can from the candidates. And often I ask myself about the rationality of these citizens, because you see, these citizens, I think, in my own understanding, believe that these people, men and women who offer themselves for elections, are so stupid that they are able to come and give money to the voters so that the voters can vote them to go and serve them. That rationality I have never understood. But also, in my other life as an anti-corruption activist, you see often that the people know that so and so has stolen public funds, and those funds were supposed to be for my own benefit. But you see, when you go to churches, the thieves who have stolen public money get to be accorded a front seat. The people are happy and willing to kill a chicken thief, but they don't want to touch a thief who has stolen shillings. And these shillings are theirs, just as the chicken was theirs. And then you wonder, do we have citizens in this country, or do we have people occupying the territory called Uganda? So these are some of the things that I think, as we delve into this discussion, would be very interesting. And of course, when it comes to elections, I think we may also want to understand whether the decisions, the voting decisions, the decisions upon which the citizens get to delegate their power, the power that is conferred upon them by the Constitution, are those decisions based on racial grounds, ethnic grounds? Is it economic grounds, or is it partisan grounds? What is driving them? Is it partisan interests? Is it economic interests? Or is it social interests? Is it racial interests? So these are some of the things we would want to interrogate and understand, because you see, in other countries such as Europe, okay, I was in Denmark. I went to use a train. You go and to the vending machine and buy a ticket, all right? And then you carry that ticket with you in your pocket. The train comes, you board it, and then you go to your destination. When you are coming out, there is nobody that asks you to show the ticket. So the conscience of whether you have bought a ticket or not remains with you as an individual. So I asked, what happens here? A country where you can actually enjoy public transport for free for many years. And then they told me that if it ever transpired publicly that you boarded a train and did not pay the public can lynch you. In Uganda, if it transpired that you have done such a thing, you will be a hero. A thief that has stolen government money is actually a hero. And then you wonder, what kind of people do we have in the territory called Uganda? Are these citizens, or are these a group of people just occupying that territory? So in a nutshell, as we start, I think these are some of the things we need to ponder about and make sure we drive the point home for our listeners to be able to separate the trees from the forest in order for us to chat a way forward. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Henry. Eddie, you've just listened to Henry alluding to the fact that Article 1 of our Constitution clearly stipulates that power belongs to the people, and people have the role of using that power to determine how they should be governed in this country. And we have seen through various occasions the citizen participation in political processes like elections, debating on public issues, and expressing their opinions on government performance has been a little bit low. And most of the time they are called upon to participate meaningfully, instead of them participating as citizens who want to see that their country moves in a trajectory that is developmental. They want to first be incentivized to participate in some of those very activities which would benefit them as the citizens of that country. What do you think is causing this kind of behavior, where citizens, instead of fully participating as citizens of the country, first need to be paid to participate in their own political processes? Could that be down to lack of patriotism spirit or any other thing? Eddie.
Thank you, Wana, for inviting me in this space to give my contribution. Before we even take this discussion further, I want us to understand the essence of politics. What does politics mean? Politics means resource allocation. Politics means decision making. Politics means the ability of the people to manage their own affairs within society, guided by their leaders. Now, when you have a situation where you do not have leaders at national level, at local government level, guiding their electorate or their citizens on what they should do or what should be done in terms of allocation of resources, in terms of civic conscience, in terms of how they should behave, in terms of democratic progression, then politics is inverted. From politics of being principled to politics of personal behavior, personal intentions, but also politics of evaluation of performance of a leader or a politician using very subjective mechanisms of who should be voted or not. Whereas politics also has ideology of determining who a leader should be. The electorate or the citizens in Uganda have redefined their performance principles or indicators of who a leader should be, and they base on those performance indicators they have redefined to vote their citizens. That is number one. But number two, using an example of the previous elections we have had in Uganda in 2016, in 2021, in 2011, we have seen the country at national level, leaders of candidates coming up to promise us, you know, in this term, this is what is going to happen. You remember the plan for modernization of agriculture. You remember the Chisanja Hakuna Mchezo. You remember for the prosperity for all. Now, when politicians at national level come out to promise such and they do not deliver, the population is going to feel deluded. And when the population is deluded, the only option or all anger is directed to the person who they think is closer to the national presidency or to the national political table. I can assure you, in Uganda, an MP, for example, is seen as a person who can get closer to the president. Is seen as a person who can get closer to the national cake. And therefore, when a citizen, when a voter is getting closer to this candidate in his constituency, the only option is that you must fill the gap. You must provide the services. You must give us part of the money because we know that you're going to earn a lot. It boils back to the national economy. It goes back to the microeconomy, the forces of demand and supply. In a developmental state, factors of production come at play. In a reasonable state, we must see the national presidency, we must see the ministers, we must see the systems bring the factors of production closer to the people. We all know what the factors of production are. Land. How many people have land? You have seen grabbing. When you talk of capital, how many people have you seen having capital to start businesses? Today have technology that everything must be digital. Who of those rural persons are using digital means to engage in business, engage in education, engage in health? These are all issues that the voters based on to make their own intentions, to make their own rationality, to make their own evaluations of who should be voted. Now, thirdly, when you look at poverty in Uganda, the Uganda Bureau of Statistics and have brought out their 2020 household survey, and they're indicating that poverty is at around 23%. But when you go to places like West Nile, Arua, Acholi, and then Karamoja, the average is 50%. When you go to East, the average is 40%. Now, when you say that people are relatively okay, and we have percentages going closer to 50% or even above, what do you expect that voter to do? That the only option that person will have because of the desperation is to use the politician that is closer to him as a source of money, as a source of revenue, as a source of livelihood. And that is the very reason as to why most of the politicians are demanded to supply money when it comes to electoral processes in Uganda. Thank you, Abel.
Thank you so much. I want to bring Elizabeth. Elizabeth, you've just had the two guests sharing their insight, and you as one of the activists for women, you know that one of the most excluded group in the political process, in the participation of political process, has been women for a long run. And government of Uganda came up with various affirmative actions to help women participate effectively in the political processes of this country. We saw how they created political position seats in the parliament and also local government, and also girls who are joining universities, how they gave them, they created some points for them. All this was aimed at making sure that ladies are able to come up and be able to participate meaningfully in these spaces of the politics of our country. But you find that most of the time, some ladies have abused these affirmative actions. So in your own opinion, do you think some of these affirmative actions agendas has helped in meaningfully impacting on how women participate in our electoral processes or political processes, or it has just been used by others as a yardstick to step up and carry on their political career and stick to those very affirmative actions without helping others move towards also where they are right now? Unmute yourself.
Sorry. Yes, Abel, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, I was saying, in as much as some women have misused and abused this affirmative action policy, we cannot ignore the fact that it has definitely improved on women participation in politics. This policy was introduced under Article 32 of the 1995 Constitution with the purpose of redressing imbalances created by history and tradition. Currently, at parliamentary level, we have 156 women representatives from district and city level. And those who came on direct seat are only 21 women. This is an improvement from the 2016 elections, the 10th parliament, where we had 19. So just imagine if we did not have affirmative action, we'd only be having 21 women in parliament. But because this affirmative action policy reserves seats for women, we're able to have 156 women that come on the woman representative seats. And Uganda currently has 34.9% of women in parliament, which is among the highest in Africa. So without affirmative action, we would not be able to achieve these numbers. And let's leave parliament and go to local government level. There are very many positions that have been reserved for women, women councillors. Without affirmative action, we would not have women at local government level. We would not have women taking part in decision-making processes. So even though the numbers are low, because currently for local government it's at 3%, we still appreciate that. We still appreciate the fact that women can take part. But we are not going to ignore the fact that there are self-seeking individuals. There's a caliber of women that have used affirmative action for their own interests. We have women that have been on that position since 1995, since the introduction of the policy. And they haven't given leeway and space for younger women who would want to take advantage of affirmative action. So I think this policy needs to be revised. I suggest maybe creation of term limits where they probably give a woman representative 2 terms. So after that, she can leave space for another younger woman to take the opportunity. Yes, Abel, that's my
So do you subscribe to the notion of others that women are the main barriers to other women's participation in political processes because they give them space, they go and capture the space and don't want to release the space to others? Do you subscribe to that notion?
Not entirely. That could be a factor, but not entirely.
Okay,
Yes,
I want to
that
bring
could be one of
Gerald.
the factors, but there's an area of very many other factors that they,
Okay, thank you, Lisa. Now I want to bring Gerald on board. You know that Uganda is one of the countries with the biggest youth bulge in the world, but oftentimes these youth do not often use their numerical strength to push for things that meaningfully impact on their lives in the country and Africa in general. Youth nowadays, instead of meaningfully participating in elections as voters and maybe educators of civic education, they are more they are more seen in terms of agents of vote buying and also actors of violence. Why is it that most of the youth in Uganda have failed to organize themselves and meaningfully participate in most of the political processes? Unmute yourself, Gerald. Unmute yourself. I don't know whether it's your volume or what, but you're too low. I can't hear you. I think, Gerald, you first fix work on your network, then we shall return to you. Now, I want to bring back Henry here. Henry, you just elaborated on how the citizens have the power in their hands. But you also alluded that maybe they don't know whether they have this power of being able to call or recall even some of these leaders whom they have delegated their power to. And we have an institution which is supposed to be in charge of educating the citizens about their civic duties, and that is Uganda National Human Rights Commission. But oftentimes we are seeing they have been complaining they don't allocate them money, so they are not able to go and really educate the citizens on their civic duties. So this is partly why citizens even don't understand their role as citizens in this country. Why do you think government has not taken much emphasis in ensuring that it gives, maybe it allocates enough money to Uganda National Human Rights Commission to go and perform its duty of educating citizens and encouraging them to always hold government officials who are misusing their powers to account to whatever they are doing? Henry? I think we have network issues. Henry, are you getting me? Oh, I think we are having a network problem. I want to bring now Eddie on board. Eddie, we do know that as a country, citizens have a duty to combat corruption and misuse of wastage of public resources. But we have oftentimes seen that citizens no longer have interest in even fighting corruption and trying to push for things that are developmental for their things. Now we are seeing politicians like the Ogwangs are the ones even going on ground to try to help and monitor how government is spending the resources. Yet the citizens could be aids of government to help them monitor some of those things, but we are seeing citizens have lacked interest, so they are not even playing a role in fighting corruption and also trying to hold these public officials to account for the money they receive. Why do you think this is lagging behind? Citizens have no interest in participating in helping government do most of the things.
Thank you, Abel. I want to take you back to NRM in 1996 when it was coming into the governance and democratic agenda of Uganda, when we had the 10-point program. The 10-point program, one of the issues that was critical is civic consciousness and civic awareness, and trying to show a citizen his or her responsibility and the power of the citizen to contribute towards developing his or her own country, including the place where he's staying. And you would see a young President Museveni engaging personally in ensuring that the rights of the citizens are upheld, the feelings, the emotions of the citizens are dealt with. But at the time when corruption came in and the presidency was circled by a group of persons who were self-seeking, then there was a detachment between the president or the system of governance in Uganda to the citizen. And that's when things went wrong. Now, the citizen got detached, the citizen felt that he's deluded, the citizen gotten to know that it is now survival for the fittest. And we have capitalism coming in, and it is the survival of that person who has the best voice. Now, at that point, things went wrong. Now, apparently, like we see in Uganda, Uganda is divided into what we call a 2080 rule. That over 20% of the national resources are over 80% of the national resources are benefiting 20% of the population. But even within the 20% of the population, there is a 5% of the 20% that is closer to the status quo, that is closer to the deep state, that really does a lot to ensure that the citizen is much deluded or is taken far away from what they should be benefiting as the citizens, right? Now, at that level, that is where we see everything, the table turning upside down. Today, the citizen in Uganda is a migrant, is in his own country. The citizen of Uganda is not sure whether he will eat the following day. The president announced that we are having schools return next year in January. What is in the mind of the parents today is, yes, the schools are open and we have a desperation to demand for education, but shall we take the kids to school? Is there a deliberate policy by the presidents or the ministers or the system to ensure that the parents are helped, for example, through the models they are always suggesting, to ensure that probably by January, people can always have the money to take children back to school? I'm trying to tell you how detached the system of governance in Uganda is far distant from the person that is being governed. Now, we no longer have a government for the people, by the people, and for the people. We are having government of the deep state that is minding about its own affairs through mafiaism, through corruption, through selfishness, through subjectivity in decision making, and the citizen is the one to lose. And in such an environment, you cannot expect progression of democracy, progression of human rights, progression of economic development, and we have come to a level where we think we're stuck, and we need a structural change in governance and democracy. Back to you, Abel.
Thank you so much, Eddie, and others. Let's go for a short break, then we shall return with more discussions.
Everything, the snacks are on the way.
Yeah, thanks, but the reason that's why we are here, our people need those improve the best services. We at least need an ambulance at every center three.
My sub-county is the forest. We used to depend on the former MP's vehicle, but when he lost his elections, he took away his vehicle.
Of course.
So what does that mean?
Use your budget as a district to procure the ambulances.
Oh, if I could, I would. But unfortunately, government operates differently.
What I'm saying, Chairperson, this is very serious and urgent.
Yes. And why are they called local leaders then?
You people, who sent you here?
I know, of course. We are concerned citizens who are watching people dying every day.
We've lost our beloved ones just because of poor health services.
Something has to be done.
You are right. Something has to be done, and very fast.
Yes.
That's transport for you. Go back.
But
All your concerns are taken care of. I will handle.
But
Have a
Chairman,
safe journey.
Thank you so much.
but this man seems to undermine our cause as to why we're here.
No, don't misunderstand me. This is just transport, no strings attached.
Chairman, we came here to discuss and find solution to our problems. But it seems you don't want to engage with us. Let's go and mobilize people, and you'll see how serious we are.
Good citizens, let us always hold our leaders accountable. Leadership is a service, not a privilege.
Contribute today at www.politicalfinanceafrica.org/donate.
Welcome back from that short break. We are going to continue with the discussion. Today we are looking at the rationality of citizens' behavior in political processes. Before we went for a break, we had various discussants trying to give us their opinions on why some of the voters nowadays and citizens nowadays do not really participate effectively or meaningfully in most of the political processes. Yet in Uganda, as a country, power belongs to some of these very citizens, but some of them even don't know whether that power really belongs to them. So they tend to ignore and just let the leaders do whatever they want. So I want to bring back Henry. I don't know whether Henry is on with us. Before we went for a break, you hinted that voters in Uganda, voters especially, or citizens in Uganda, they have the power as per what Article 1 of the 1995 Constitution stipulates. But some of them don't know whether they even have this power. And I was telling you, Uganda has an institution which is mandated to civically educate citizens about their civic rights and also encourage them to always hold leaders accountable and defend the Constitution. So, but we have seen this institution oftentimes complain they don't allocate them enough money, enough resources to be able to carry out their mandate. And this is affecting how citizens are being educated civically. So I wanted to ask you, Henry, do you think this is a deliberate move by government not to have the institution function normally? Because it's better for you to have a citizen which is ignorant and not civically competent enough to be able to look at things in the right way. Are we having technical issues? Because I am not seeing the other people, but as we continue.
Okay, I am here. Right, I am here, Abel. So thank you for that question. And of course, earlier on, thanks to technology and the very fake internet service we have in Uganda, even after we have had 35 years of uninterrupted government, we have failed to fix technology, and this is one of the tragedies of Africa. How shall we catch up with the Western powers who are going to the moon when we cannot fix the small technology here on internet? But that said, yeah, I actually have liked the discussion now. Before I answer your question, let me try to interrogate two very important factors, and one of the factors is informed by the video we just watched during the break. The ordinary, one of the factors that inform the rationality of citizens of Uganda in the electoral processes, including, I think also, this could be the case in the rest of Africa, is number one, the contradictions of the state. The state of Uganda is absent and present at the same time in the life of the ordinary Ugandan. And being present and absent at the same time, let me explain, because that could confuse our viewers. If you want services, you want education services, you want roads being opened and worked on, you need clean water, you need security, you need good roads, you need good health centers. You don't see the state, okay? You can cry all you can. You can, if you are so sick, you can go to a private clinic. You will not see the state. But the moment you pick up a placard and say, we don't like these services, the government has abandoned us, then the state is going to appear immediately. And then you question yourself, where has the state been? So that contradiction of being present and absent at the same time is one of the things that inform voter rationality. Number two, the behavior of elected leaders. As if when someone is being elected to office, reaches office, as if in the offices they find something akin to a money tree. Because the voters have seen the behavior, the changes in actions and the behavior of elected leaders. Changes in behavior, in the way they dress, what they eat, what they speak, and the kind of life around them. If someone went to parliament with border, like we saw in the previous election, they come back in driving very big vehicles, sometimes with even a lead car. The citizens can stand and watch what happens to parliament when legislators allegedly pocket money in exchange and trade money in exchange for enactment of regime-friendly laws or amendments to laws in order to permit and allow the regime to survive. The citizens look at their district councils. They see a contractor coming and setting up very shoddy structures but the district goes ahead and issue a certificate of completion. The contractor is paid, and they ask themselves, where are our elected leaders? Of course, when they cannot find questions, they start filling in the gaps. One of the possible gap fillers is these people have pocketed something. And indeed they have, because when you look at them closely, their economic behaviors begin to change the moment they get into political office. These matters inform voter rationality. Now, you talked about civic education. That is very important. In Uganda, I think it is the Uganda Human Rights Commission, but also the Electoral Commission, the two institutions that are mandated to carry out civic education. But the way we carry out civic education in Uganda is very disjointed, because civic education is not only on matters of politics. Civic education is on many matters of life. There is civic education in health, civic education in agriculture, civic education on roads. As a matter of fact, UNRWA needs a lot of civic education to educate citizens on how to use roads to ensure that the longevity of those roads is guaranteed. You need civic education on mining minerals, civic education in schools. What is the role of a parent when they have children in school? How should they behave? But you get to see that there are smaller monies that are scattered in these very many ministries. And as a matter of fact, as a consequence, there is no impact. The Human Rights Commission, which is the body mandated by Constitution of the Republic, of the land, to conduct civic education, is very underfunded. And as a matter of fact, they have had to depend on donors to conduct their activities. And then you ask the question, who benefits from a situation? The citizens are kept civically incompetent. If one was benefiting from, if you are looking for who is benefiting, ask you don't have to go very far, because that could be partly the reason why we don't see government committing enough funding to this to this institution. And therefore, in order for us to inform, you see, you cannot have democracy, because democracy and the decisions that are required to be made by citizens in a democratic process are decisions that need an informed citizenry. The citizens must know, what does it require? What should a person have in terms of qualities and abilities in order for them to get into a political office and serve my interests? How do I separate bad leaders from good ones? These are matters that require civic education. They might require civic competence, that when the voter goes there, they are able to transcend the lure and temptation and blindfold of money, and then be able to pick to choose between money and ideology, money and competencies. For you to achieve this, you need civic education. And therefore, I think the rationality of the Ugandan voter, as they participate in the electoral processes and behave in a way and a manner that leaves everybody bewildered, is informed by the lack of civic awareness on matters that require that the citizenry is informed. Maybe some of them don't even know that as citizens, you don't just stop at being citizens. There is a document called the Constitution that has laid down the roles and the duties of a citizen. And therefore, you don't just live in a country and go to drink marua. You have responsibilities to fulfill as a citizen. I think this is one area where we are falling short, one area where we need to style up, one area where I think us who have had the opportunity to be civically polished need to come up and do something. Thank you, Abel.
Thank you so much, Henry. I want now to bring Gerard. Before we went, you had internet issues. I posed to you a question, and I was telling you that Uganda is one of the countries in the world that has the biggest use bulge. But oftentimes, most of these young people have failed to use their numerical strengths to purposefully engage in political processes. And I wanted to know from you, as a young person, why do you think that the youth are still in this state of disarray for a long time now? Gerald?
Yes, Abel, I think we are having, again, connectivity issues, and I'm trying to navigate them here by switching.
Okay, as we work on our connectivity issues, internet has become a problem in Uganda now, and I don't realize why these internet issues are often breaking. But it's important for citizens to always work as partners with the government and participate in most of the political processes. Because once they participate in some of these processes, they are able to ensure that all the leaders do not abuse their powers. They are also able to keep the government more informed of the wishes of their communities, how they want to be governed and what are the issues affecting them. So it's all through participation. Also, when they are involved in the governance of their country, of course, the country will be able to move in a more developmental way and not in a way that where a few individuals take over the country and benefit themselves. So we need more citizens to participate. The behaviors they should be using to participate should be that pushes for national interest, not for very few selfish interests. So citizens must be patriotic and enough to push for agendas that benefit the entire nation as a whole, a collective benefit, not this selfish or egoistic centered benefit which only benefits a few colleagues. I don't know whether we are now back. Our internet issues are being fixed because we are left with only 10 minutes to wind up the show. So I wanted to know whether our guests are on.
So I am now back, Abel. I've fixed the issue. I've switched internet. Now we can proceed. I did not hear your question.
Okay, I wanted to know from you, Henry. You know that civil society is one of the forums that always helps citizens in terms of building their civic competence and to ensure that they are able to participate meaningfully in most of the governance issues in the country. So I wanted to know from you, you've been in civil society for so long. How has civil society impacted on building a citizen that is more informed so that they are able to participate in most of the political process in a meaningful way?
Thank you very much, Abel. Unfortunately, that's an area where we have come up short as civil society actors. You will understand that for some reason or the other, it is not possible to conduct civic education when you don't have resources. So you need resources. And in the past, we have been using radios to run, messages here and there, but we have learned in the past that that is not good enough. And therefore, it requires that you reach out to the citizens themselves. But of course, with the coming of COVID-19 over the past 2 years, then you could not do anything. But I think also the shrinking civic space, because the onslaught of the government, of the current regime in Uganda against civic organizing, especially organizations working on democracy, accountability, and human rights, is not helping. You will recall that when we tried to observe our own elections, we were arrested on voting day. So these are signs that have sent kind of signals of fear and tended to kind of program many of the civil society actors with a software of fear that many of them now fear to engage. But also the source of funding, the donors don't seem to be able and willing to commit as much funding into civic education. But I think also we have to get on the drawing board. That being said, we need to get back on the drawing board and understand how can we do it differently, even without money. How can we use the resources available? For example, we are now online. like this space we are participating.
Wow. Henry has just gone. The internet is still disturbing us when he was still making his point. But I want to bring Eddie on board. Eddie, you have participated in various elections, and you do know that elections in Uganda, ever since we returned into multipartyism in 2005, has been so much commercialized. And most of the citizens or voters nowadays prefer associating with candidates that have money as compared to those, or as opposed to those who come when they are ideologically oriented. And very many people have been asking themselves, what explains this behavior? What explains this change of behavior? Why is that the majority of the voters prefer now associating with people who give them money or who have money as compared to those who are ideologically oriented, and they are able to articulate issues that can help spur the country to another level of development?
Thank you, Abel. I want to take you back to where we started from. You started with a question asking the power of the voter, the power of the citizenry. And it goes back to, if a citizen is not empowered, is that if a citizen does not have power, then you do not expect a citizen to have.
Oh, we are having network issues, and I really don't know what's the problem today, but the engagement is still ongoing. I know Eddie will return and give us your insights on that, but for a long time now, most of the citizens in Uganda and Africa at large do not appreciate their constitutions and the laws in their countries, and you find that they don't understand what they should be doing as citizens. That's why you see they can easily be hoodwinked by the politicians who have mastered the art of using them, manipulating them as their own agents, as long as they can be able to vote them into power and maintain the status quo without them being offensive on how they are being governed. So we are finding it very difficult for citizens to participate in political processes in a more rational way, because the systems that have been designed and placed by the leaders in place is in that they serve the interest of those people in power. And even if citizens come out to try to riot or what, as Henry hinted earlier on, most of the countries, not only in Uganda but in Africa here, most of the regimes in place are responsive only when citizens are threatening their stay in power. But when it comes to service provision, most of them are absent. So they are more active when citizens are now demanding for things that are supposed to be given to them. But when citizens are not demanding, they are always absent. So they are more reactive to those who riot, who try to fight for their rights and ignore those who are not all that politically awake to the realities that they need to demand for what belongs to them from the government. So I want to know whether we have our guest discussants back, because we're running out of time, so that each of them can give us their parting shots in these last 5 minutes we are remaining with. Do we have anyone there? Henry, Gerald, Elizabeth, and Eddie.
Okay. I think I am here, Abel. And of course, I have been following. Let me speak to the commercialization of politics, which seems to be the new cancer that is permeating our democracy and making it very difficult for us to pursue democracy as a viable system of governance. The leader, I think it is a leadership issue, because across Africa, the people who manage our states, you cannot help but think that maybe they enjoy being presidents of poor people, hungry people, because you see, they have not invested in the people. Okay? and they keep dreaming that we are going to achieve middle income status. What middle income status? Okay, so they have allowed corruption to blossom and thrive. Corruption has eaten up all the institutions. The institutional framework, the institutions have been captured, placed into captivity, left into the hands of mafias. They have plundered it. The ordinary citizen is left with the only bready crumbs to eat. I think the reason politics is
Yes,
we have again lost Henry. I think, Ed, you can give us your parting shots.
Yeah,
Yes,
Abel, before I broke off, I was mentioning the issue of who is this citizen that is empowered? Who is this citizen that the Constitution is talking about that has power, that power belongs to the citizens? It should be the citizen that is economically inclusive, a citizen that is informed, a citizen that uses the voices of reason to determine his political destiny, a citizen that has access to social services, a citizen that has access to education.
Wow. The internet cannot allow us to continue. I want to thank all our guests, discussants, who have been sharing their views. You've been so knowledgeable about this subject matter. And I want to assure our dear viewers that since we have had network issues, we shall one time come back and discuss this very topic extensively, because the network has been disturbing us and most of our discussants have not been able to share with us their insights. But I want to thank you all for watching us and listening to us from wherever you are. Keep tuned. Next week on Wednesday, we shall also be here from 11 a.m. to 12 noon East African time, discussing various things on the other perspective, where we always interrogate the thing behind the thing in the thing. Those are some of the things people do not want to look into or are not be able to see, but we shall always be here discussing them with you, and you can comment, share with us your comments, and always also give us feedback on how we should proceed with our programming. Thank you so much. I remain Abel SF.
Everything, snacks are on the way.
Yeah, thanks, but the reason that's why we are here, our people need the services. We at least need an ambulance at every center.
My sub-county is the farthest. We used to depend on the former MP's vehicle, but when he lost his elections, he took away his vehicle.
Of course.
So what does that mean?
Use your budget as a district to procure the ambulances.
Oh, if I could, I would. But unfortunately, government operates differently.
What I'm saying, Chairperson, this is very serious and urgent.
Yes. And why are they called local leaders then?
Local government.
You people, who sent you here?
I know, of course. We are concerned citizens who are watching people dying every day.
We've lost our beloved ones just because of poor health services.
Something has to be done.
You are right. Something has to be done, and very fast.
Yes.
That's transport for you. Go back.
But
all your concerns are taken care of. I will handle.
But
have a safe journey.
Thank you so much.
But this man seems to undermine our cause as to why we're here.
No, don't misunderstand me. This is just transport, no strings attached.
Chairman, we came here to discuss and find solution to our problems. But it seems you don't want to engage with us. Let's